Passover is coming. Don't pass over it, folks. It is the time of our freedom. What's freedom? Well, freedom is free to be. Free to be who we are. And how do we express that? We eat matzah. And we should make sure we have shmura matzah for Pesach. A hand-baked, like the original way that it was made. Have 4 cups of wine. Of course, all of the mitzvahs engaged in that night, telling the story of our people. Imagine that we know exactly what kind of food we ate, exactly what time we left in our liberation, how we left. Pretty neat. That we have all of that as part of our tradition, part of our lives. Okay, welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad.Chabad in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We share with Terrence, TJ, all the way in Australia. Welcome. Good evening, or good night almost. Soon, after Tanya, with sweet dreams. John is in North Carolina. Shalom to you, as always. Galise is in Georgia, while Brett is joining us in Pennsylvania. Brett, good questions. Thank you. Eugenia in Calgary. Boker Tov. Rachamim is in Houston. And who else is here with us? Yan in Mexico. Jane is in the Philippines. Michael in Germany is well with us. Good afternoon. Diane in Arizona, as always. Davida Liba. A joyous Boker Tov and a Tanya-rific day. Yes, absolutely. In New York, together with her sister, Liba, Davida and Liba. Yeah. Rabbi, welcome in Morocco. Good afternoon. Rena is joining us in Colorado, as always. And Daphne's having a wonderful Wednesday in South Carolina, while David is in Sacramento, California. Welcome. Clem, Brisbane. Welcome. Julia, Boker Tov in Pennsylvania. Who else is here with us? Leah in Florida, as always. Simcha is also in Florida. Well, Elise is West Virginia, where she gets her Shmura Matzah from Chabad. Beautiful. Yes, everybody can get from Chabad. Sunny, cool Jersey, we have Joseph with us. Jane is in the Philippines. Okay, I think I got. We have Bachi and Vilma, David and Adam, Matt and Michael. We have Ashley, Vicky, Tyron, Lebanon. Lebanon. All right. Lebanon means to live in Yiddish. Gotta live on. Good. Akoya is in Lima, Peru with us. Yelia. Many. Crazy Joe. How do you do? Rachel in South Carolina. Shalom. Ezra has joined us in Telebenta in New York. Beautiful. Why are angels called Chayos HaKodesh, holy animals? Animals? And they're holy? What does that mean exactly? You would think that they're much more than that. And the divine chariot from Ezekiel, Yecheskel, the Merkava as it's called in Hebrew, has different faces to it. Two are of animals, a lion and an ox. What does that mean exactly? How do we understand that? And why is it that this world is one and only? This physical world is just one. Yet when we speak about spiritual worlds, we speak about 4 different spiritual worlds. Starting from the top, Atzilus, then Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. The world of emanation, the world of creation, the world of formation, the world of action, all in the spiritual realm. What is that? Why? So the reason why angels are called Chayos HaKodesh, holy animals, holy beasts actually, not even animals, it's a beast, Chayot. It's a beast. It's also called behemoths, animals. And that the Merkava, the divine chariot, also has animals, beasts on it, is because just like an animal, they have no freedom of choice. Angels have no freedom of choice. Freedom of choice between what? Good and evil, of course. In other words, they're standing at the summit, shall we say, of the spiritual worlds in a love and an awe of God that is natural to them, instinctual to them. Nothing that they can produce on their own, with their own willfulness, their own freedom of choice. So they get and perceive the divine, right? But it's natural, instinctual for them. Therefore, they are compared to animals. And that's why tzaddikim, the righteous, are on a much higher level than angels. Their abode is in the world of Bria. As we'll learn, that the most lofty of righteous is even the world of Atzilus, the highest world. But in the world of Bria, as opposed to angels, their place of being is in the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. Now, what's the difference between Bria and Yetzirah? What's the difference? What's the distinction between them? They're spiritual worlds where divinity is, shall we say, reigns there, although there is negativity there also. There is klipa, right? But in the world of Yetzirah, it is a revelation of God's emotional side, shall we say. In other words, chesed, gvura, kindness, severity, right? And therefore, in that world of emotion, there will be the love and awe of God. Of who? The angels that are there. Also souls, but we're just comparing now souls to angels, right? And it is radiated with this light that this becomes their reality. This becomes their native state of being, is perceiving the divine intuitively, instinctually, right? And that's what the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. Formation, the form of an individual, is their character quality. Right? So that's why angels are constantly in that world, emotively connecting to the divine, constantly, without cease, with a dread of the sense of God's presence. They're like overawed. Like, I don't know, I've never been to the Grand Canyon, but imagine standing next to the Grand Canyon constantly, but being renewed with its constant presence. Maybe if you're standing at the edge, almost falling over, if that were a possibility, right? But just that notion. What kind of constant dread would you be in? Standing on top of the Empire State Building or whatever kind of tall building and standing at the edge, not wanting, God forbid, to fall or to jump, for sure not. But I'm giving that just by way of example or metaphor to appreciate where angels stand. They're standing at the edge, the summit of the world of Yetzirah, God's emotive attributes of his divine kindness and severity are illuminating the world, that the angels are just, ooh. So standing at the edge, that you be in constant fear, constant awe of what's before you, right? And of course, who leads in that constant awe is Malach Gavriel, the angel Gabriel, representing the left, which is Gvura, right? That attribute of fear and awe. And therefore angels are constantly in that state. And of course, then you have Malach Machol, the angel Machol, or Michael, if you want, who is constantly perceiving God's chesed, his kindness, his love, and therefore constantly exuberated with love. Right? And yet they're called animals. I mean, they're compared to animals. They're holy animals, holy beasts, because just like an animal, this is instinctual. This is part of their makeup. They didn't choose this, to experience this, to sense this, to partake in the divine in such a way. This is, shall we say, put upon them, if you will, right? Or naturally a part of them, as opposed to freely choosing that, right? But in the world of Bria, which is a higher world, the world called creation, there radiates the Chochmah Bina V'das, the wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, the divine intelligence of the Ein Sof of God, right? And it becomes then the source, the mother, if you will, of the divine attributes. And so it's called like the supernal mother, Bina, of that world, as the mother begets offspring. So the intelligence begets an offspring, and that is a divine emotion, of course, right? Now, in that world, angels are in the lower world, again, where it's the natural habitat of theirs is the emotions of love and awe, because it radiates in that world, love and awe, so that's their reality. That's their natural state of being. That's their instinct. In the world of Bria, where the divine intelligence is, so divine intelligence means that we can use our understanding and knowledge of God's greatness to have an offspring. And what's that offspring? Love and awe of God. And this is what we called earlier in chapter 17, Rusa de Liba, the heart's desire, meaning that the heart desires what the intellect understands and appreciates. This is the higher level of the Garden of Eden. The lower level is in the world of Yitzhak, the world of formation, where lower level souls have their place after their time in this world. The higher level of the Garden of Eden in the world of Bria is as a result of the freedom of choice that we have down here, that we could use our minds to have dominion over our heart, to use our minds to use our Chachma Bina V'das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, that we can understand something about God, feed it to our heart, and have a desired heart based on what we are aware of, and that something that we freely can choose to do. When we do that, that enables, or that's a soul that primarily comes from the world of Bria, and therefore they're capable of that. Now, the fact that the soul comes from the world of Bria, so you might say, well, I mean, isn't that its natural habitat of that soul? Is the world of Bria, so therefore, just like angels, we call them holy animals. Holy cow. No. Right? We call them holy because they're like animals, because it's instinctual. So, well, if the world of Bria, if God's divine radiation of intelligence is there, and therefore the souls are able with their intellect to perceive God, the greatness of God, and from there to produce a feeling towards God, well, isn't that its natural habitat, its natural state, and its instinct? It's true of a soul that starts there. But where's our soul today? Inside here. And therefore, we have the freedom of choice as a result to contemplate such a thing as God, or not, or to contemplate, other things that are, of klipa, sitra achra, of a negative source. So that's the choice we have over here. The fact that we're capable of contemplating and having mind dominion over the heart, that's because of the source of our soul, where it comes from, giving us that capacity. But the choosing of it is our choice. Angels don't have that choice. Metaphorically, again, if you're standing at the edge of the building and that you have fear, you almost have no choice but to have fear, because you might fall. You're literally at the edge, and constantly at the edge. You have a fear of falling, of course. No doubt. It's almost no choice. So that's the angels. But us down here, even though we may have a soul from up there that came from even a loftier place than the angels did, but being in the body now, that gives us the freedom of choice to choose that we use our mind in a way that we can perceive the goodness of God in the world, the beauty of God in everything of creation. Or to think we're living in a jungle, and to see the negativity of others. I was just translating this idea. All right. Do you have any questions, any comments, any thoughts? So 2 question marks before you ask a question, please. So it's clear that it's a question. I think I saw some. Alice, what exactly are they? How do they exist? Do they have functioning organs? How do they think? Talking about angels, of course. Alice, is that what I'm understanding your question? So think of angels as emissaries of God to do God's bidding. Think of them in such a way that they are spiritual beings that are empowered to do something, whether in the spiritual realm or in the physical realm, as in the story of like Abraham, when 3 angels came to Abraham after he circumcised himself, and on the 3rd day, in the heat of the day, standing at the door looking for wayfarers, looking for people to bestow kindness upon them and to teach them the ways of Hashem. 3 angels came, one to tell, actually, just to bring out the idea that angels have no freedom of choice. In their mission, they can't have duality, because duality means free to choose between this and that. That's duality means this, one thing or another. They only have one mission. So one came to tell Sarah that she's going to have a son next year. An angel can't do something else. Another angel came to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah and to save Lot. And one came to heal Abraham. So they can at a time they can only have one mission. So to save Lot is one mission, and then afterwards another mission to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Why can't one angel come do a few things? Because they don't have a duality. They have a oneness only. We have a duality, so we could choose to use our mind, our hearts, towards good, towards the divine, or the opposite. They don't. So think of them as in that manner. They don't have to necessarily come down into the physical world. That's not the usual, but they can be a spiritual power of God that is sort of like, God's outstretched hand, so to speak. I hope that helps. Elise, am I getting this right? She's asking. Having the choice is what makes the tzaddikim holier. That is more difficult if it's instinct. You didn't have to work for it. Well, first of all, for someone to become righteous, they had to work on it. You're born with the capacity to be righteous, but that's only a potential. To realize it is freedom of choice. So the righteous have that freedom of choice. Therefore, they have to work on themselves. Likewise, we have freedom of choice, right? To choose between darkness and light, good and evil, godly and klipa. That's our choice. Often, we act without choice. Probably more often than not. We act without choice, living on autopilot. So we're like an animal. But worse than an angel is a holy animal. We're a debased one. Diane, do angels have an animal soul and a godly soul? Nope, because then that would give them freedom of choice. Right? Excellent question. John, how are the holy chayos in our morning prayers before the Shema different? They're not. Actually, we speak about different. There's srafim that are burnt up because they're so close and aware of godliness. There's oifanim. There's chayos. Oifanim means winged angels. There's Chayas Hakodesh, as we just holy animals, or holy beasts actually is more precise. Those are just a few of them. Excellent. Thank you, John. Julia, are angels living beings with a soul? Yes, they are living beings, exactly. Can we ever truly become righteous, or is it just a betterment? Excellent question, Galise. We learned that previously in Tanya. In chapter 14, we dealt with that. And later, to be righteous, you need to have a soul that will allow you to become righteous. Very unlikely we have it. Very, very unlikely. But that's okay. That's what we're learning over here. Then the Beinani, which means someone who has mastery over their thought, speech, and action, cogitated thought, willful thought. They have control over, or can't they do? The Beinani has control over. That's our mission. And here the question was, why? If you can't do it all, can do what we need to do. Okay, Diane, yeah, and godly soul. Okay, excellent. How does this change when Mashiach comes? How does what change? Who's changing? Davida, I'm not clear. You mean the angels or us? We'll change. Brett, were angels exercising free will when they rejoiced when the pursuing Egyptians were drowned? God rebuked them for this. Good question, Brett. And the answer is no, they were not exercising freedom of choice. Brett's asking a very good question. When the Egyptians chased the Jews after they left Egypt, the seventh day of Passover, right, Shvi Shal Pesach, that we celebrate, and then the Jews got saved by the sea being split, but the Egyptians drowned. The angels were rejoicing above. God says, "Stop your rejoicing. They're my creations." So was that a freedom of choice? Like they went against God? No. They're not God, remember. So they're not the Ein Sof. They're only radiated by illumination of God. And that illumination is, I'm not certain if it was all angels or just angels of the left side, like Gabriel, that are an embodiment of judgment, severity, which is motivated by awe, fear of God. And from a judgment point of view, the Egyptians got what was coming to them, right? So therefore, they were celebrating on high. God says, well, from that point of view, that's true, but from my point of view of the Creator, they're still my creations, and there's nothing to celebrate. The loss of any life, even of terrible people, which is pretty fascinating when you think about it. Just to digress for a brief moment, it ever speaks about the conflict in the Middle East, and says that if the Jewish nation, Israel, would show very strong hand, a very strong hand, they probably wouldn't have to use it. They would just have to show it, and that would mitigate much loss of life, not just of the Jewish people in Israel, but of the Arabs, nations that are hostile and surround them. Their loss of life would also be mitigated, would be lessened. right? They're trying to annihilate us. To them, we don't exist. Still God's creation, and even if they do have to be, um, you know, even if they do have to drown in the sea, it's not a cause for celebration. Powerful idea. I don't think that exists, that notion, anywhere. David, the world is devoid of klipa when Mashiach comes. Yes. How does that change the mission of the angels? Good question. I don't know. Do we still have angels? Yeah, there'll still be angels, but we will be far and above beyond. Bella on Instagram has a question. After a person leaves this world, does the soul then become an angel? No, it doesn't, because we're going to learn more about that actually forthcoming classes. Good question, Bella. Our soul doesn't become an angel. Our soul is far more lofty than an angel. And we will see more about that forthcoming classes. Good question. Beautiful. All right, folks. You know, our next JLI course, Supernatural, it's going to speak about angels and more, about the supernatural. It's going to be something. Yeah, you don't want to miss that. JLIMontreal.com. JLIMontreal.com is the forthcoming course after Passover. You don't want to miss it. All right, folks. Amazing. Rambam is coming up. And we're looking forward. It starts, when does it start? The end of April. Okay? Like in a month. Emails going out. Okay. Ooh, John is asking a real good question. Will guns be present when Mashiach comes, especially what happened in Nashville? Oh, and I'm just thinking about that today. Thank you, John. Well, what does it say? We will beat our swords into plowshares. Right? Sword, the original gun. The original. The original. Yeah, good question. Oh. Right, I spelled Montreal wrong. I'm sorry. Yeah, not a good link. I'm going to send you the link now. How come I put in the link and it's not there? That's weird. Give me one moment. Wow. It didn't allow it in? Yelly on Instagram. Okay. Is the Satan an angel and his mission the evil inclination? Satan is, yeah, Satan in Hebrew. So you have angels for good, you have angels and that do whatever they do. Okay, so I'm going to put it in. There, because I put the .com, I put a space there, so you're not going to use it as a connection, but there you have it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to be posted. JLI-Montreal.com. That's easy. JLI standing for Jewish Learning Institute. JLI-Montreal.com to find out more. All right, folks, Rambam coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kedesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, great day.